The wind that swept down from the high ridges of the Black Hollow Mountains carried with it a sharp, metallic chill, the kind that didn't just brush against your skin but seemed to seep through layers of clothing and settle deep in your bones. It was late October in the remote town of Ashford, Montana, a place where the jagged peaks loomed like ancient sentinels and the pine forests stretched so far they seemed to swallow the horizon. The locals knew the wilderness here was beautiful, but it was also unforgiving. They told stories, some true, some exaggerated, about hikers who underestimated the terrain, about sudden snow squalls that could turn a sunny afternoon into a fight for survival. Isabella, Izzy Hartman, 29, had grown up hearing those warnings, but she wasn't the type to be intimidated. A wildlife photographer by trade, she thrived on the kind of shots you couldn't get from a roadside overlook. That morning, she'd told her brother she was heading out to Crow's Vale Trail, a narrow, twisting path that wound through dense pine and spruce before opening onto a hidden glacial lake. She promised she'd be back by nightfall. She never returned. By the time the sun dipped behind the mountains, the first flurries had begun to fall, dusting the trailhead in white. Izzy's phone went straight to voicemail. Her brother, uneasy, called the sheriff's office. Within hours, search teams were combing the trail with flashlights, their beams slicing through the dark like thin swords. The snow muffled their voices as they called her name, the sound swallowed by the forest. They found her Jeep parked neatly at the trailhead, locked, with her camera bag still inside, but no sign of Izzy. Sheriff Daniel Rourke, a man with 30 years in the field, stood at the edge of the lake on the third day, staring at the still, black water. If she went in here, he muttered to his deputy, we might not find her until spring. But there were no footprints leading to the shore, no broken branches, no sign of a struggle. It was as if she had stepped off the trail and vanished into thin air. And that impossibility was what unsettled him most, the absence of chaos, the absence of any trace at all. The search stretched into days, then weeks, each one colder and more hopeless than the last. Helicopters swept low over the treetops, their rotors scattering snow into ghostly spirals that vanished as quickly as they appeared. Volunteers in bright jackets trudged through knee-deep drifts, their breath steaming in the frigid air, calling her name until their voices cracked. The forest seemed to resist them, its silence heavy and unyielding, as though it had decided to keep its secrets. Rourke coordinated the search from a makeshift command post, a canvas tent lit by the harsh glow of portable floodlights. Maps were spread across folding tables, marked with circles and lines that grew more desperate with each passing day. Izzy's family clung to hope, but the reality was sinking in, the mountains had taken her. On the 12th day, the official search was called off. The case became a ghost story in Ashford, the kind people whispered about in diners and around campfires. Some said she'd gotten lost and succumbed to the cold. Others hinted at something darker, something that lived in the deep woods. Rourke didn't believe in campfire tales, but he couldn't shake the unease. He'd been doing this job long enough to know when a scene didn't add up. And this one didn't. There were no signs of panic, no trail of dropped gear, no evidence of an animal attack. Just nothing. In the quiet moments, he found himself replaying the first day of the search in his mind, the way the snow had fallen in perfect, undisturbed sheets, the way the lake had looked, too still, too dark, as if it were holding its breath. He remembered the sound of his own boots crunching on the frozen ground, the way the trees seemed to lean in, listening. 6 years passed. The seasons turned over and over, the mountains shedding snow only to take it back again. Izzy's disappearance faded from headlines but never from the minds of those who had searched for her. Then, one gray morning in early spring, a fisherman named Caleb Mercer was casting his line from a small aluminum boat on Mirror Lake, a body of water miles from Crow's Vale Trail. The lake was deep, fed by snowmelt, and its surface was so still it reflected the clouds like a perfect mirror. Caleb's lure snagged on something heavy beneath the water. He cursed under his breath, thinking it was a log, but when he pulled, a flash of yellow broke the surface. It was a waterlogged sleeping bag, its fabric faded and slimy from years underwater. He hauled it into the boat, the weight of it making the aluminum creak. When he unzipped it, the smell hit him first, damp, metallic, and faintly sweet. Inside was a bundle of clothing, a pair of hiking boots, and something else, a small waterproof pouch. Caleb's hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a memory card, the kind used in digital cameras. He stared at it for a long moment, the wind rippling the lake around him, before tucking it into his jacket pocket and rowing back to shore. He didn't know it yet, but he was holding the first real clue in 6 years. The sheriff's office sent the card to the state lab. When the files were recovered, they found dozens of photos, Izzy's photos. The early shots were what you'd expect, towering pines dusted with snow, the lake's glassy surface, the jagged peaks in the distance. But the last image was different. It was taken at dusk, the lake, black and still, with a figure standing at the far shore. The figure was blurred, almost translucent, but its shape was unmistakably human. Sheriff Rourke stared at the image for a long time. "That shore's inaccessible," he said finally. "No trail, no road. Nothing." Theories exploded. Some said Izzy had met someone out there, someone who didn't want her found. Others whispered about the old stories, the ones about the lake taking people. Rourke didn't know what to believe, but the image gnawed at him. He found himself driving out to Mirror Lake more often than he cared to admit. He'd stand at the shore, the wind cutting through his jacket, and think about the last photo. Did she call out? Did she follow? Sometimes, in the quiet just before sunset, he thought he could hear footsteps in the snow behind him. He'd turn, but there was never anyone there. The case remains open. Isabella Hartman is still listed as missing. The sleeping bag, the boots, the memory card, all locked away in an evidence room. And somewhere in the mountains above Ashford, the wind still carries that same sharp, metallic chill, whispering her name through the pines. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories.